Hello, everybody. I'm thinking that I should officially have my YouTube page open so I can check and see if this streaming live is working properly. And we've got an issue here, so we better take care of that first. Yeah. How about this? We want to go switch account. This is going to be a little weird because I've got a lot of YouTube windows open right now because that's what I do. I watch a lot of YouTube, and it can mess with things when you're trying to switch different channels, because I got more than one channel. But anyways, you don't want to get bored with this. So yeah, let's go back here and that's new, but we don't want to do that. Hold on. Go live. We want to go to classic live streaming. Yes, that's what we want. Okay. So it does show that I've been broadcasting here for a minute, wasting everybody's time, turning you off to this video. Let's get down to business. What we want to talk about today. Let me when I have to change the title of this video to "Let's Talk About Chord Relationships." All changes saved, so that should be good. Okay, so as the title suggests today, I want to talk about chord relationships and an interesting thing that I found with them the other day as I was wondering what to do to make a video, and I got to writing down just some mystery notes, and I came across something. And a secondary idea about this video is the value of this graph paper method and what it can do for your knowledge of music theory as a guitar player. There's always there's just a ton of interesting symmetries in music, and they might not jump out at you until you get them written down on paper, and you might be able to even come up with some meaningful things with these implications. For this one I'm going to show you today, I haven't really come up with anything majorly, like right off the bat, like, hey, this is how this is going to improve your playing, which is what I ultimately like in one of these videos, is to really show you how you can, when I taught you in other videos how to make modes super easy, how to play in any mode, anytime, anywhere. Right off the bat, you can just totally explode your knowledge of music creation with your guitar. This one, not so much, but I thought it was very interesting nonetheless. I'm going to try to explain this thing for anyone who's watching who is really new to music, because I think that's the biggest benefit to my channel versus some of these other channels where these people are really, really schooled in music theory. And that's something, to be, for them to be very proud of, for me to admire. But I find that when people are, really, really well versed in music theory, it's so easy to them, now that they understand it all, that they sort of lose the mindset of someone who is really struggling with it all and doesn't know anything about it and just gets lost right away. And then all the, minor this and tritone that, and you have no idea what anybody's talking about. And that doesn't do anybody any favors. It can even come across sometimes as snobbery, but I don't believe that those people are trying to do that to show off, what they know. Like, haha, I went to school and, you better study or you'll never know this stuff. And, you've got all this years to study. Anyways, it really doesn't take, it just takes someone to get you over into some concepts, just to get some things to click so then you can run yourself. That's what I know about. See, I'm a teacher. I'm not a professional. Once again, it's another thing I never went to college for. I never went to college for actual teaching, but I did take a college course that certified me to teach a 5-hour pre-licensing class, and I've spent 6 years as a driving instructor. And some key things I've learned about teaching people a skill, like probably the biggest thing, is the keep it simple method. Break it down. The more I can break things down, the simpler it becomes to people. And I've even found a very unique or kind of interesting trick with the number 3 and the power of the number 3. And I tell people in my 5-hour licensing class, you've heard of it's as easy as ABC 1, 2, 3, and almost everything I can explain about driving, I can show you how it relates to the number 3, or there's 3 simple steps to get it done properly. Passing the road test. You learn everything 1, 2, 3. And I tell people something that they've already learned in this way, and that's stop, drop, and roll. It's a long story. It relates to how your mind works when it's nervous, and there's a whole big thing. It's called chunking. You set things up, big ideas into one word. So my point is that there are ways to break things down and make it easy for people, and that's what I want to try to do today with some chord stuff. Or that's how I'm going to approach this lesson. So if I, get drawn out on some basic stuff, and you already know this, you'll know why I'm maybe being boring to some people who know some things about music. So, chord scale. So the first thing we want to know about chords is to understand that there's something called a chord scale, and that right there makes someone go, "Well, chord scale? How do I know about that? Well, how do you do it? What does it mean? I'm lost." And so to do that, I'm going to give you a couple of pointers here. Let's start with the basic fact that there's 12 notes in our system. And we're going to give those 12 notes a name. So root, flat 2, major 2, flat third. They always go in this order, so you can memorize this, and it'll always serve you. This is something you should definitely memorize. It doesn't take too long. And all these flat 2, major 2, flat this, that, the other thing. Why is there 1, 4, and 3 5s? Think of this as like idea groups or sound groups, or function groups is really probably the right word. For example, the 2s are going to function as 2s, but one is a kind of a flatted 2 and one is the regular 2, whereas the flatted one is going to have somewhat of a more tense sound than the regular 2 is going to sound. This is like a step, and you can see this is like just taking one step by skipping one note. You can play the next note from one note, and that always sounds a little more tense than skipping a note. For whatever reason, they've given that a name. These are your first steps. You can take a step away from a note or even skip a note, and that's called a step. It's not too far from the original note, so that's like taking a normal step when you're walking. So that's why those get the 2s. Now, if you jump a little farther, that's a little more than a step. So this becomes a new group of notes, and these 2 notes work together. We have the minor third and the major third. And hopefully you've heard of those. This is when it comes to chords, this is the note that is the primary function of making a chord or an interval jump. An interval is when you just play this note and this note, from one to the other. So here, let me start from here just so you can hear this. A simple step, it's, from one to the other, and it sounds kind of like Jaws, a little bit tense there. Then we're going to skip a note, so it's going to sound like this. kind of like very kind of formal and normal sounding. It sounds like a step. Now we're gonna jump a little farther, so it sounds a little like more than, sounds like there's been, there's missing notes in between. So that's more than a step. This would be called a leap. And so our leap here is to a flat third, and it's got a nice resonance, but it sounds a little sad than if you just take this leap here to the major third. You hear that difference? Sad, happy, more tense, more relieved, tension and release. So the fourth is suspended. Let's play that. And then the flat fifth, this should sound pretty tense and hard to hear. Hear that? Now let's play the back. Go back to this one. See how much more comfortable that sound? That's why that's a natural note. But right after it is a whole different ball game of notes, starting with this flat fifth. Interestingly enough, this is exactly halfway down the 12 notes before they repeat. So at the exact center is just simply a note. This was in old times called the devil's interval. Okay, now we've got the regular fifth. And you've heard about the fifth before. It's that almost sounds like the brother of the root note. That's the most solid tone you can play with the root note. You'll hear the fifth 8 million times. And then the sharp fifth, starting to get a little bit more tense, but not as bad as the flat fifth, and on and on. So we're not going to go over all of those because there's only 3 more to go, but we got to condense this lesson a little bit. So this is 12 notes right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you'd repeat back to the root note. So for example, if this was a C, let's write that down here, C. Do you see what I see? This would be another C. We'd be back to the C. Okay. So getting to chord scales. Well, C is very helpful. We're going to use the key of C, like you always hear music theory talking about C, because we're using a piano to explain things to you. And a piano visualizes the key of C well. It shows you the notes that are in the scale, which is the major scale, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and it leaves out the other notes as the black keys. So all the white keys are the key of C. So there's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If you play it from C, you'll hear do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If you play it from one of the other notes, it doesn't. It's another something else. There's a whole nother lesson about, starting from other notes, but it doesn't produce do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, because the jumps don't correspond the same. When you play from C, you skip a note, then there's no black key, so you don't skip a note, and then you're here, and you're here, and you're here. And let's notice something on this interval chart here. You're on all the whole intervals. You're not on any of the flat notes. So you're on the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's why these intervals got these names and how do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do works. Okay? So whenever you play a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale from any note, you are playing the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7. And you're not playing like a flat 7 or a sharp fifth or a flat fifth or any of them other quote-unquote black key notes. Now, that can still get confusing, but we have to move on from here and just type in a question if you get lost on anything, and we can set you straight. That would be really beneficial if you did that, because then I know what my listeners and my viewers are what you guys really want to know and need to know. So anyways, if we skip every note, we've got that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So where do chords come from? And where does a chord scale come from? I mean, you understand that, there's probably a C chord. How does it even made? Well, basically, a chord comes from taking a note, skipping one note, and playing that next note. So here we're do, we skipped re, and we play mi, skip fa, and play so. So you've heard the 1, the 3, and the 5. 1, 3, 5. If I was to so that's a chord. Now I can do that from each one of the notes in the scale. So for example, the C, we'll put our note names here. This becomes C, D, and this is why music theory and the piano use the key of C, because it just so happens that the key of C, all these whole intervals line up on whole note names: C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Back to C. So here would be like a C sharp, D flat, D sharp, E flat, the black key of F sharp, and G flat. Doesn't pop out on the guitar as easy, so that's why we're referencing a piano today. So, for example, C, E, G gives us a chord. Now, if we start from the second note of the scale, first of all, let's play that C chord. So if we start from the second note and skip every other note, we would be playing D, F, and A. All you have to do is keep your fingers exactly as they were and move them over, all fingers over a white key. And that's why we use a piano, because it makes that so easy to know. You hear the chord. And you might, as a beginner, say, well, who cares? Why is that even important? Well, there's something interesting that happens here. See this little half step here? Let's take a look. Let's count some boxes here. And let's just take a look right here. In our C chord, we have C, we skip a note, and we get to the E. Now, take a look at where that falls. That falls on this interval box right here, a third, the happy note that makes up a chord. And the chord's the 1, you got your happy and sad choice, and your 5 basically like your rock. This is like, solidifies your chord when it's a triad. And you can add in another note here. We're going to talk about that in a second. But basics of chords are triads, 3 notes. 2 notes is like a dyad, and that's just more of like a harmony idea, is how you can think of why are there 3 notes? Why are there 4 notes? Why aren't there 2 notes in a chord? Well, a 2 note is like sort of a chord, but it's just missing that extra bit that makes it a chord, and you can just more think about that as harmony. Harmony is just usually like 2 notes together. Or sometimes called a dyad for 2, but this is a triad for 3. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And the point was that the middle note here falls on a major third. But let's take a look at what happens if we use D and F and A. Well, we have to do this by counting squares, or we could even put root 2, flat third, third. See, we have no arrow on the third. So basically, D is using this. It's using the F and the A. And from C to G, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes. From D to A, we should have the same 7 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So A is a 5th from D. But that middle note, notice there's only 2 boxes in between the dots. With the C, there are 3 notes in between the choices from C to E, but there's only 2. So you're going a root, a flat second, and a flat third. So now D is a minor chord. And that happens up the scale here. So when you pick C major, you can figure this out for yourself, but I'll just tell you right now so you know. D is minor, E turns into a minor chord, F goes major, G goes major with a little bit of a special deal that makes it called a dominant chord. And that fifth is just always a very important note, but we don't really got to know that today. Just call it G major. A goes minor. B goes diminished because not only does B end up with a flat third, but it never makes it to a fifth. If you say start here, you get this note, you'd skip to, how does that work? You get a B, you get a, oh yeah, of course, did. So you'd get a B, you'd skip over to D, and then you'd skip E to get the F. So B, D, F. What does that work out? That works as root, flat 2, 2. We don't use any 2s in a chord. Chords always jump to 1, 3, and 5. One of the 3s. So we find that B gets the flat third. It's minor, but it also gets 4. Oh, sorry, there's 3, the major third, there's the 4th, and the flatted 5th. It's got that weird tritone interval, that really bad interval that we hated earlier. And so because of that, that's why B is Locrian. It's the scale nobody uses. It's the chord only found usually in jazz. It's a diminished chord. So that's why B is that kind of weird function right there. Now you know, in case you never knew that. So these chord scales are, whatever note you start in is the note that the chord is. So we can do C, we can do D, becomes a minor, E becomes a minor, F is major, G is major, A is minor, and B is diminished. So you can even, hopefully you watched a lesson I had a while back that shows you how to make a note legend system. If you've got that, I should roll with my students that know that and have written that down, but in case you didn't, you could put a big M here, a small m here, a small m here if you want to do this today, a big M here, basically you can put a 7 there, that's major, but it's called a 7th chord, a dominant 7th chord. Then we can have a small m here for minor, and then a dim here for diminished. And that little note will give you the idea about what you can expect out of each chord. So any major scale works like that, no matter even though we're using the key of C with the white keys on a piano to make it easier, no matter what chord your major scale starts on, your major scale formula is always whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and it's always going to create the same combination of chords. The major, the next one will be minor, then major and 7th, and minor, diminished. The only when that changes, you're in a different scale system like melodic minor or harmonic minor, or any one of like a ton of just totally way out there scales that aren't going to be part of your initial music creation as a beginner, like a Japanese scale or a I don't know what kind of weird scales there are out there. But anyways, so that's how we get chords. And a chord, that's what a chord scale is. It's using the chords from the major scale and knowing that they become, there's a little flavor combination to them. Major, minor, minor, major, majors. Let's hear that. All I'm going to do is pick, starting from C, I'm going to choose every other note. I'm going to go, then I'm just going to follow up one key at a time with all my fingers. They're going to take that same, white key in between each finger, and they're just going to go up one note. So major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and now you can see why the major scale is so popular is because your ear, I bet at that B note, you were just waiting for the And it gives you that feeling of, oh yeah, hey, yeah, that does sound right, back to normal. That sounds like something happened, and you don't know what happened. Well, it was the tension and release based on all those chords, based on do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So, that being said, what was interesting about all these chords that I noticed the other day, now that we know what a chord scale is, let's check out some things here. And this will be the summation of the video. It's kind of simple, really basic actually finding here, but if we take the one chord, let's write down here the one chord. We're just gonna, I guess we'll skip a space to keep it neat. The 2, I don't know if we'll have room for this. The 3, the 4, the 5, and we didn't skip one there to make it kind of like do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, and then obviously do will be there. Here's what I found. With the one chord, starts with the root. Well, actually, for the root, we're going to use the number 1. So we're going to use 1. And then we have a 3 and a 5. And I'm also going to include the 7 here. 1, 3, 5, 7. What does this all mean? That's the chord, that's the combination of tones here. I felt like right there I should explain where this 7 comes from and why it's going to be interesting. The 7 here is if, like, for example, you skip one more note, you're adding in a 7. So, for example, like with the key of C, we'd have a C, an E, a G, C, E, G. B is the spelling of a C 7th chord. So you can see if we skip that note, we end up in the group of 7s, and it becomes a major 7th versus a flatted 7th. Make sense? So, and that works in a major chord. If you have a major chord where you get a flatted 7th, one of the chords does that, and that's what made this one a dominant 7th chord. I guess I said I would explain that, so now I did. Let's see how that works. We would have, let's spell it out. I guess we'll see if I got a blank page here. I probably don't. Yeah. I think I've used up this whole pad. Oh, my Lord. I'm not prepared for my video. Yep. That's bad. Uh-oh. One more page left. We're doing bad. Okay. Skip over to another pad here that has smaller squares. And I'll show you. So if we started with the 5th, we would have, let's see, root 2, 2, flat 3, 3, 4, flat 5th, 5th, sharp 5th. And this is kind of how I started remembering, I knew that, just as a side tangent here, 2 was in groups, there was 2 2s, 2 3s, 1 4, and 3 5s, which helps eat up a lot of the information. Group it up into easy chunks. We have 1 6, and then the 2 7s, and you're done. That's all you got to remember. If we start at the 5th here, which is our G note in the key of C, our do, re, mi, fa, so, you're going to start there. You're going to skip. You're going to be on you're going to use this note, and then you're going to skip so basically you're on the G, skip the A, add in the B. You're going to skip a C, so you're going to add the D. And then you're going to skip a note for the 3 and end up with a 4. So let's take a look at how those intervals work. So if this was the root, we've skipped the flat 2, the 2, the flat 3rd, so we're on a major 3rd. We're going to have to go this way and extend this way to make it a little easier to understand. You can work this way and just jump back here when you get good at this. But for the beginners, we're going to think that we're skipping the C and we've gone to the D. So we've gone from a third. There's going to be our fourth, our flat fifth, and our fifth. So we have a root third five. We have a regular major triad happening. Now what if we want to add in the final note there, which is going to be the skip the E and add in an F. So we skip the E, D, E, and then F. Now notice that between E and F there's a half step, and back to the root note G there is a whole step. So for example, we didn't see this, but when you make a, here at the top here, I'll make a C chord. If we started with a root and we went C, well, it's another major chord, but it's not a dominant seventh chord, and this is why. C, we skip a D and go to E, and the next note is G, right? C, E, G, and we skip the A note at the 6, and we end up at the major seventh note for the B. And that note is, as you can see here, is a half step away. It's just one simple note behind the original root note. Does that make sense to you? It's one note behind the original root note. But if we look down here, when we create the G note, from the key of C, we would skip the A note to get to the B, which is the third, so it's a major. We skip the C note to get to the D, that ends up as a regular fifth, so it's a regular major chord. It's not flatted fifth or augmented, which none of the chords end up as augmented, but we skip the E and we go to the F, and notice that the F is a skip a note behind the G. So that is a flatted seventh. This would be a 7, and then that would be the root. So we have root 3, 5 major with a flatted seventh. And that creates, that's the only major chord that does this of the 3 major chords. Basically, you get a major chord from C, you get a major chord from the 4F, and you'll end up with a major chord from G, because all these jumps from this note jumps to a major third. The 4F jumps to a major third, and write it all down. If it's confusing to you, graph it all out for yourself so you can see how it works, because the paper shows, how it's written in stone. And the G goes to a major third. So those are all major chords, but this one goes to a regular seventh, this goes to a regular seventh, this one goes to the flatted seventh. It's the only one that does that, and it gives it that dominant effect. Plus, it's halfway in the middle of the scale. So it's halfway, it's kind of like the most distant chord from the root. So that gives it the most away feel. And that's where you're going with music. You're going from home to away to home. Wherever you start, the fifth is always, your away chord, and it wants to lead you back home. So anyways, that's where we get this flatted seventh from. So back to this guy here. This is where we get a regular seventh in this chord. If we start at the 2, we're gonna notice when you spell chords out, the way that they would normally be spelled out, something doesn't appear to you. Like, for example, with the 2 chord, I would write the D is the 1, the F is the 3rd, the A is the 5th, D, F, A. You've heard of that, as the D triad. We'll play it. Play it on my guitar for you here to make it clear. Ooh, we're hitting things. That's not good. I don't know how loud that is. never a fan of videos that have the volume all over the place. It's like my biggest pet peeve on videos. When they play the chords and all of a sudden you have to, turn everything down and the neighbors are annoyed because you're listening at 11 at night. I know on my videos, I think I keep hearing it. I'm getting a hard P out of this microphone. It's probably a little too close to my mouth, and I hope you'll forgive me for that. So anyways, if I were to spell that D chord out, that D minor chord, I'd start here and make that the root note. That would be the third, root 3. Then it would be flat third, fifth. And then this information I'm going to show you here doesn't jump out at you. I'm going to use the way it comes out of its original chord scale. So the D is the second note of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So we're going to use that as the 2, and then we skip the third for the 4th, skip the 5th for the 6th, and then we skip the 7th for the root, the 1. So let's take a look at something right there. Between the first note, and this is what I started jumping out at me, I thought, hey, that's kind of neat. Notice that on the 1 chord, you've got all the odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7. On the second chord in, you've got 2, 4, and 6. You've got basically every note that you didn't use in this chord. And that's clearly the separation, why these 2 chords would even sound like such different chords. Obviously that they're, starting on a note, a different note that's a whole step ahead from C to D minor. There, that's a little better. Change the pickup there. But also because you're using the exact other note, the leftover notes of the scale. And it's definitely so if you just consider them as triads, 1, 3, 5, and then 2, 4, 6. In that method, we've left out the 7th, but we've still got, odd number, even number. Now, I found it interesting that if we included the 7th, we've got basically every odd note available, and then every even note except for the 7th always brings in the first note of the previous chord, leading to why 7th chords are popular in jazz, because they kind of lead to one another. They have a link between them. So let me play these as 7th chords. Both of them have a C. One is the root note in C, and then it's the 7th. They have a little bit more of a sister-brother approach than this version. It's triads. Now, the thing with guitars is they're stacking a lot of notes in weird ways. There's octaves in there, so it doesn't really ring out as much. I'm going to try this on the piano. Let's hear a 7th chord relationship on the piano. Let's try this. You can hear the relationship there, which I just thought was neat. And then I wondered, as I go down the scale, how does this keep happening? And that's why I found this video, the guts for this video, because I found out it did keep happening. So let's check this out. If I start on the 3, well, basically start on the 3, skip the 4 and go to the 5, skip the 6 and go to the 7th. Look at the relationship between the 3rd and the 1. In the 3rd and the 1, you've got 1, 3, 5, 7. And here you've got the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7. Here is one of the implications of the video that just popped into my head. You've heard of chord inversions. And you can see here that basically if you inverted this chord with the third in the root position, you've basically almost got the E note. This is where you see some people getting confused explaining some of the chords chosen in songs. When people use a chord inversion, they maybe will explain it as, well, that's just an inverted chord, or no, they're actually playing the third. So the third chord, basically an E. So what's the seventh note? Well, it's from 7. We do skip the 1 and we go to the 2, but we didn't even have to think that far. We could have just looked right here. See, there's a 2 right there. There's a 2 right here. And the neat thing about that is this kept happening all the way down the scale. Every note, the 7th is always the tone of the chord preceding it. Isn't that kind of neat? I thought so. So let's go here from the 4. Here we're going to have an even number chord. We're going to have a 4, 6. Skip the 7. There's no 8, so we go to the 1, and then from 1, 3. So here we kind of got like the 4th is kind of like a half and half chord. It's half of the D minor and half of the C major is one way to look at it. Another way to see it is that it contains a link as a 7th chord to the previous chord. And then 4, 6, 1. It's also related to the 2 chord. You can see how these chords are all the relationships between the chords are exposed in this explanation right here. And this hasn't been explained to you because you don't naturally explain these chords from their basic, pulling their basic intervals from the parent scale. You just start it with, okay, this one is the root. You spell the chords, how they're spelled individually, and then you lose, this information doesn't jump out at you. And that's why I like the graph paper method that I've created here, because you can do things with it that really show things that can be explained that aren't being explained because it's just not natural to explain them this way. I guess if that makes any sense. I don't know. So there's a relationship between like the 4 and the 2, 4, 6, 1. But here we have 4, 6, 1 and the third instead of 4, 6, 1 and the 2. And of course here the 2 is the root, the 4 is the root note. So completely different root notes will sound like completely different chords, but there's a relationship. Let's play that. Let's play both of these chords and see how they sound. I'm going to play a 7th chord from the 2, which would be D. So here, you just write yourself down. The key of C right here is C, D, so you know what we're talking about, which chord you need. And if you got a piano, you can make this a lot easier to get in your mind than with your guitar. So C, D, F, G, A, and B. So we want to play the, perhaps let's play a D7 and then an F7 and hear the relationship. I'm just playing that D7 to get it in your mind. Here comes the F7. Did you notice that both of those chords sound very musical with each other? The D and the F, a minor and a major. Well, how come? Because they share gut notes. Is why I say gut notes is all I had to do to change those notes is change the note on the outside. Because as you can see, the 4, 6, 1 is, for the D chord, there's a note before the 4, 6, 1, and for the F chord, there's a note after the 4, 6, 1. So it's the note before and after the 4, 6, 1. So I'll show you again. Here's the C major scale. Here is the fourth note of the scale. So that's the 4, 6, 1. So I'm going to play the note before it, D minor. Now I'm going to let that D go and play the note after. That E third is the E, so from D to a high E. These notes, they all share an F major triad. Kind of neat. Going on from there, it just, the relationships continue in that exact manner. So now we got the 3 here. So we can write our next one down very easily. We can get our 7th written down, but we just need to write a 4 there because it's always the preceding one. Let's see if that matches up. Here we got the 5th. Skip the 6 and go to the 7. Just like always, it's basically like odd even. And when even is done, it switches to odd. So like, for example, here, like 2, 4, 6, and we can't get a 7, so we're back in odd. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2. Let's go right down from the top. Watch this. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. What is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 1, 3, 5, 7. There's 1, 2. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 5 and 6 and 7. Anyways, so 5, 7, 1, right? No, 1 is after the 7, so that would be 2. And because we're done with the odds, we go to evens. Duh, right? So like 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4. So this would be a 6. Hey, look, where are we at? We're at a 6. 6 is where we're done. So we start with the 1, 3, 5. And look at our 7th note is the same as the preceding chord. Isn't that kind of neat how that works? I just thought that just basically blew my mind. So hopefully you got past, if you knew chord scales, you got past my initial instruction there of the boring part, and you jump to the neat little gut notes of this lesson here. And I'm going to check, maybe someone is out there asking questions or commenting on my live video here. I haven't checked my comment section yet, so I'm going to go do that in a second to see if anybody's there, and I'll answer your questions if you're there. But I guess since we got one more chord here, we might as well get this filled out. So what do we got here? We've got do. So like, there's going to be the same relationship we had between the D and the F is going to be between the E and the G. We have 5, 7, 2. Basically, we're going to skip the note before and after the 5, 7, 2. Let's try that. So as you hear, we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's our 5. Let's play a triad there. Okay, so we're going to play the note before it and after it. There's our sad E minor chord. Honestly, to my ear, not as musical as I thought it would be, but there we go. It was the E7 and G7. Let's play that on a guitar and see how it sounds. Here's an E7 chord. Oops. There's some relationship there, even though they share gut notes. Not as musical as the 2 and the 4 there. But anyways, I digress. That's why you're going to have to come up with your own musical implications to what we've discovered here today. So from the 7th, the B note, the 7th, we would start with our 7. We would skip the 1 and go to a 2, then a 4, and then a 6. And what's the 7th note is the B. What's the 2? D. What's the 4? F. What's the 6? A. B, D, F, A spells out a B diminished chord. And so, that being said, you can see the relationship there again. The 7th is the root of the chord preceding it. There's 2, 4, and 6, which is got a relationship between the D and the B. And on and on from there. But that's going to be a hard one to sound musical because it's that diminished chord. Why is it diminished? Because this ends up being a diminishes like a minor. It's sad, but it takes minor a step deeper and adds in that flatted 5th, which breaks down that nice harmony, strong harmony of a regular 5th, which you know from the power chord. Your strongest chord interval relationship is a root 5th. That's why it's called a power chord. It's got that power of root 5th. And this breaks that down. Plus with the minor, so you've got a... Not a very pleasing chord, but it leads you back. The one thing you can know, aside from the many jazz aspects of a diminished chord, this is obviously, you can think, it sounds terrible, so obviously it's not used in pop, it's not used in rock, but what starts making that weird jazz music? What do you know? It's that diminished chord. It's got a ton of uses in jazz. In classical music thinking, you can think of it as the chord that's going to lead you back to C. Hence why this is called the leading tone in the scale, because it leads you back to C very nicely. You can hear that when you just play it as basic intervals. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti wants you to go to do. That's why it's, the major scale is what it is, because it's got that weird... You divide the intervals, the 12 notes, up into this interval grouping, and it's got that that leading quality. It's got that lead you back to home quality. I'll play you something here. I don't know if I played. I was thinking about this before I made the video, and it's on my mind, so I'll play it for you. Let's just play all 12 notes in order. Sorry. It's got like a swirling effect. It's basically blowing like the wind. It's all 12 notes. It's moving continuously like the wind. And if you were to play those fast back and forth, you'd probably get this, you could create this nice, you're lost in a tornado effect. And I think I've heard that in an Emerson, Lake and Palmer song before. That's where you leave some notes out and create these steps. That's where do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do comes from. All of a sudden, there's an organization there. There's a special organization. And when you, take a system of 12 steps and create a special pattern, like think of the tumblers in a lock. If you know what tumblers are, when it like a key in a door, a lock. there's a special code, and that special code, you need a key to unlock that special code to press all the right tumblers. There might be 12 tumblers in that lock, and if you press the right 7, the key opens the lock. So you can see why it's called a key, because it's using a special grouping of notes to create the special, unlock the music from that random whirlwind of tones. Make any sense to you guys? Let me know. Let me check the comments right now. Chances are, since I'm losing subscribers instead of gaining them, I think that's because I don't make any videos with enough frequency here. And they're kind of live and makeshift and maybe not what everybody's looking for. Yeah, maybe nobody's commenting. But let's see. I got some regular people once in a while. And we've got 0 people watching. So if you watch this later on, I thank you. One thing I guess I'm going to go live in a second here. And we're about to make a big announcement for the channel, which is actually a disappointing announcement. So stay tuned for that. The future of this channel is now uncertain. It's uncertain. And I'm going to tell you why in the next video. So let me leave you with our interesting chord relationship video today. I should have said in the beginning to skip ahead so people that do tune into this won't get lost in the first 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of rambling about basic stuff that they may have already known. And got into the meat and potatoes here, this interesting relationship of notes and how chords link together between basically using the odd notes, then the even notes, then odd notes, then even notes, and odd and even. 1 3 5 7 2 4 6 1 3 5 7 2 4 6 1 3 5 7 2 4 6 1 3 5 7 2 4 6, and you get all the way through the chord scale of a major scale. Let me let you guys go there. Kind of interesting. I ended up almost exactly at an hour, which is, I think, kind of neat. And yeah, we'll go from there. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Stay tuned. In the next few minutes, I'm going to go live again with a big announcement for the channel. And yeah, I would like to thank any new subscribers that decide to join in from this video. Like, as everybody says, please hit the like button, because the like button creates YouTube algorithms pick that up and will place my video up in ranks so people can find it, or it just appears in people's feeds and maybe they can check it out. Hit the subscribe button, because then I got more subscribers and more incentive to get on here and make videos. And the notification button will tell you whenever I'm going live or I've made a new video, so you totally know, maybe when you're on YouTube, that all of a sudden I'm on live and you can come and check me out and then ask the questions that make this channel more of value for your time. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for anyone who made it this far. Please leave a comment if you did make it this far. That helps me know that my rambling has some merit here. Thank you so much. Have a good day. And as always, let's try to find that exit button where, oh my god. All right, we're back again live. Oh my gosh, 1 minute later, we're live again. Hey, what do you know? From 0 watchers to another 0 watchers. But what you guys missed there in the last video, you get to skip some of the rambling and get right into the meat and potatoes. I'll go over really quick what we went over. We went over chord relationships. I spent a lot of time going over trying to hammer out to beginners what chord scales were so we could get to the meat and potatoes of the what I was trying to show you. We'll just go right into the meat and potatoes for those who know chord scales but may have never looked at it this way, because the way you spell chords doesn't involve you pulling out this information that shows up here. If we consider, like, this do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do in a C scale, we've got C is the 1, D is the 2, E 3, F is the 4, G is the 5, A is the 6th, B is the 7th note, back to the 1. And if we just spell the chords, the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, using the intervals from the parent scale, not spelling each individual one from its root note, which is how you're usually taught, so it tells you about, gives you the idea that this is major, this is minor, blah, blah, blah. If we just skip all that today for the reason of doing this, something cool appears. And you get to see the relationship between chords, seventh chords, and the relationship between inversions and why certain chords sound good together. Let me show you something here. Consider that basically when it comes to the note choices for a major scale, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And with chords, since you skip a note, you get these groupings of odd notes or even notes. And the neat thing is how everything begins to repeat. So to show you here, we've got 1, 3, 5, 7, and then from the 2 note, the D, we've got 2, 4, 6. Then back to the 1. Theoretically, starting our next chord we should be 1, 3, 5, 7 if that holds true. And look at that. Our next chord is built on the 3. So here's where, this is the chords, by the way. This is the, just telling you our notes and the chord number from the scale, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord. And then this is, we repeated that number here to just give you the, from the root, the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 7. The first note, just to avoid confusion for the people who just got confused, the first note, the second note, the third note, and the fourth note. So, 1, 2, the third note, that would be a triad, and then this is your, basically adding this note creates the 7th chord. So, anyways, going back from where I just started, 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6. Kind of neat how chords are related like that. I showed you how, for example, when you've got a chord like this F chord, which has the 4, 6, 1, it's the basic similar gut notes to the D chord up above, 4, 6, 1. The D just has a note before it, and the F note has a note after it, and there's some musicality there because they share 3 notes, and we can hear that like this. And here there's a lot of musicality between those 2 chords, and because they're sharing gut notes. Doesn't hold true on every chord, I think. Like if you take the G, which has the 5, 7, 2, and the E, which has a 5, 7, 2, just simply the note before and the note after are changing. Not as musical together, but somewhat musical together. But this is, the reason for chord inversions. You're just basically mixing around the groupings of the same old intervals. And I just thought that was really neat. Another thing I thought was neat is there's always a link, and when you use 7th chords, you get a link between the note, the chord before the chord you're playing. So like if I'm playing a G, the chord, my 7th, is the 4th note of the scale, the F. And it's the first note of the chord before the G, the F, right? So let's take a look at the F. This should be an E. What do you know? It's a 3. The E is a 3. 2, 2, 1, 1. See how that? 6, 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. I thought that was neat. I know there's musical implications there, and it's going to be up to you, the composer out there, to link up your chords and find out why they go together. What are some common chord progressions? Let's think about this for a second. We've got, let's say, 1, 4, 5 is real common. And, with a 1 and a 4, you've got a 1 and a 3, and a 1 and a 3. You've got the C and the E as the similar notes. And then going to the 5, you've got from the 1, the relationship is the G and the B. G and the B. And then from the relationship to the 4 chord is the 4, and the 2 is kind of the odd man out there in a 1-4-5. And there's some musical implications there, probably in the blues, and on and on. Maybe that's not a note you want to play until the 5 chord. You add the 2 note in your scale, and but you don't play the 2 when the 1 and the 4 chord are playing. It might sound kind of cool, or it might give you that little edge into your sound. It's not very perceptible, but it gives you that idea that you know what you're doing. So let's hear that. So when I hit the 5, I played the 2 note, and it sounded pretty good. I played the 2 note over every chord there, and it sounded like all right, but it just sounded kind of random, and I think that it had a little bit more of a purposeful sound, even in that little kind of not so musical thing I did, where sounded a little more organized, a little more purposeful. The note had a little more impact, the 2 note, once it was only played over the 5. So these are the little findings you can have when you choose a series of chords. Let's say you like the 2, the 4, the 6, and the 1. You want to make a sound that goes 2, 4, 6, 1. And 1 and 2 don't sound that great together, but so let's just say you played the 4. Let's say our song was 4, 2, 6, 1. 4, 2, 6, 1. That sounds good. 4, 2, 6, and probably some of those melody notes that sounded reasonably well were some that were picked from the chord that don't occur, in the other chords, and some of the melody notes that sounded good when the chords changed were probably pulled from the chords that may not, like, for example, what do? We went 4, 2, 6, 1. So from the 4, we've got 4, 6, 1, and 3. And we weren't even playing 7th chords, by the way, there, so that may have made a little difference. And we went 4, then the 2, so you might want to, you got your 4, 6, 1 is going to work over both of those, but you may not want to play the 2 note over the F in your melody because it's not in the chord, but definitely, use the 3, and then when the 2 chord hits, play the 2, something like that, So there is the interesting meat and potatoes that in less time than the last live video I did with basically the exact same concept. But the real reason for this video is this announcement I want to make to you people. And, I don't make enough videos as it is. I'm very lazy. Like Rick Beato had said in a recent lesson, there's something about making the not live videos. Live videos are easy because you just turn on and you start rambling, and it's, here you are talking about what you want to talk about. But then you're open to making mistakes and repeating yourself and being boring and rambling and stuff like that. When you make an edited video, you can edit all that out, get right to the point, and make something that's quick and concise that draws people in, because people tend to only click on videos that are like 7 to 10 minutes long or that. I know I always do that because I'm always looking for something I can learn quick before I get to work. I've got like 10 minutes to go to work. I've got my phone in my hand. I'm making some coffee in the morning. I want to click on something that gives me something to think about on my ride to work. That's, if it's a half hour, I don't click on it because I don't got a half hour for someone to ramble. And so, the shorter the better. And you can do that when you make a live video. But when you make a edited videos take work. Once you get making them, you roll with it and it's good. Just like Rick Beato said, you just really got to get over that hurdle of getting yourself to get to the computer and start doing it. And I never do that. Hence why you can see that there's 8 million live videos on this channel. And my last edited video was like 2 years ago. Seriously. So I seriously lack at contributing to this channel, and that's why I think there's relevant information, which is why I've risen up to 700 subscribers. But that's over like the course of 3 years. That's not very fast growth. And lately, once again, I slipped back down to 698 subscribers. So 2 people were like, yeah, see you, dude. I mean, you're not telling me anything. And so, that being said, I already don't maintain the channel. What I'm about to tell you is the fact that I'm getting a new job, just to get to the point here. I'm getting a new job that's going to be basically, once again, not allowing me to maintain my channel. And I just wanted to tell you guys about that. I've considered, like, just do I pull the whole thing off? Because if I stop maintaining this, maybe someone else starts running with my information, claims it is theirs, starts pumping life into it, and next thing you know, I'm looking at someone else stealing my work, my creation here. It's just music theory. It's not really my creation, but the way I think I teach it is a little unique. And so if I just cancel the channel, I leave that open to happen. If I just leave it up, it sits here growing old and stale. So I'm at a little crossroads on what exactly I'm going to do here. And but at the same time, I'm thinking, well, I don't really hardly contribute to it anyways, so maybe it's okay. I'm going to be gone for about 3 weeks at a time, and then I'm going to be back, and I'll probably have about a week to basically hang around, get things done, and once I'm done getting things done, I will have enough energy and time to sit down here and make some edited videos. So this might actually be the best thing that's ever happened for my channel. You might actually see, well, I guess so. I guess my announcement's going to be like, we're in a wait and see mode at Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Methods. What is about to happen? I don't know. I think it could lead to me making more edited videos, which will be great. And I also think it may lead to this channel seeming like it was abandoned. But then again, because I don't make videos very often anyways, it maybe already seems like it's abandoned. So maybe you won't notice anything. But you may be wondering, like, well, what the hell is this job you're getting? I'm going to be moving freight around the country in a van, which I think is it's a really good fit for me. I have no pets, no kids, no wife. Right? What the hell happened to my life? But my life is weird. My thinking is weird. That's why I learned guitar like this. And I have, with the lack of anything, this job fits me perfect. There's a whole lot of other reasons. I've experienced with driving instruction and being trying to be a professional driver, even though, like, when I drive my own car, it's like, actually, like, just like another can be another maniac at times, like everybody else that gets frustrated and drives crazy. But anyways, I'm a New Yorker too, so New Yorkers drive crazy. Even though it's Western New York, it's not New York City. I've got a lot of push. This is just going to be the greatest thing for me. Right now I work construction. I work a home improvement job, and there's a lot of little things about it that are like there's only basically, on one hand, I'm learning some great things about home improvement and how to understand home construction and what to do when I get a home and it needs some work, and how I can save money on buying a house that does need some work. Great stuff there. But it's a very, 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 once again, mentally stressful job. I left driving instruction because it was a great, fun job, but it was mentally stressful. So I switched to home improvement thinking that working physically would be better, and it's been great because working physically helps you feel physically better, but it also can leave you physically tired and physically exhausted, actually. And this one is also still draining me mentally because I don't have the exact temperament my boss has, or the yeah, it's actually, I guess I would initially say like we clash, but it's kind of like, on one way we clash because it's like two brothers that are like, think like similarly enough but then different enough that they just kind of annoy each other all the time. And there's a somewhat of an environment, there's like a lack of mentorship, which is what I'm a teacher. I like to mentor people, so I'm very sensitive to when and very aware when I'm being mentored or when I'm just being bossed around. And the nature of the job, time is of the essence. Time is important. I'm trying to understand my boss's point of view here. Time is important. Money is important. Things have got to get done. There's not a lot of time for banter and bullshit. So I think you can balance that more. I personally, and it really depends on the person. Some people can banter more and still get the work done. Some people, to get the work done, can't have the banter. And I feel like that's how my boss is most of the time. He doesn't lead on to the fact that he's really concentrating on this job. But, the reason he does that is because I'm with a construction guy that does not do shitty work. We do good work. We please a lot of customers on the good side of town. And there's a reason, that we keep those customers, because he maintains a straight arrow performance with them. But to do that, it contains him not being able to take the time to be a mentor. Things have got to get done, and if he gets short on patience, then it's instantly, he's a human being, and he may not realize that how he comes across sometimes is very toxic in the way I can take it, but I do absorb it, and I'm a person that will absorb toxicity in the wrong way. Many times when shouldn't be taking it personally, I do. So just trying to give you guys, I'm being long-winded, but trying to give you guys an idea of what the hell happens to me. What is it about, my job that makes it so I can't teach this stuff? I get home, not only now am I physically exhausted, but I'm mentally exhausted. So this job didn't allow me to create this stuff. When I'm out in this new job on a van, I'm not going to have my equipment here. I should actually show you really quick here. I got this camera here that you're seeing me on, and then you're going to see a big mess here. My counter here has got, my drink and stuff like that, but excuse me, there's my setup here. Stupid little bunch of piping that I set up to support my other camera here, this 930E, whatever it is, camera. Excuse me here with this camera. Oops, whoa, we almost had a collapse there. There we go. Cool. I won't have that set up to have this. I probably could bring it with me in the van. I don't know, but I'm starting the new job, and to start with, I got to bring a whole bunch of stuff with me, and I can't overload myself with just, trinket things. I want to keep it serious, and I have to bring a lot of stuff with me as far as, I'm going to live in a van for 30 days or 20 days, maybe 30 or 40 days if it's, if the getting's good. I'm going to be in that van hustling. Making the money, baby. And so that requires me bringing some serious for the job stuff, and the trinket stuff can come later when I get good at the job. And that being said, I might be able to make videos when I have off time in the van. But off time in the van is usually going to be like catching some sleep, getting laundry done, getting a couple of things, that have to happen done. And then you might have a little bit of extra time to do something. And it's usually not going to be a lot. At that time, it's probably just going to be like, sit and read a book or strum an acoustic guitar. It's probably not going to be me able to edit videos. I'll probably only have a cell phone anyways. I'll eventually probably get a laptop. And I won't have this good fiber optic connection to stream with. So that being said, I'm thinking that I won't once again be able to make live or even any videos for 3 weeks at a time. However, if I do get that third week or the fourth week home, or 4 days home, whatever the case may be, it may give me some time to, at that time, to sit home and get busy with a video. I'll probably want to ride my e-bike, work on my cars, add to my videos on my other channels, my Red Spider channel for my cars, my guitar building channel, which I never update, on and on and on. So, I'm a man of too many distractions. If I can listen to myself there and try to eliminate some, I doubt it, because there's too many things I like to do. So, that's my story here. That's my big announcement here that because of this van job, you can expect that this channel is going to go stale, and I'm probably not going to be able to update it very much anymore. Check it out. Stay tuned. Check me back in 3 weeks. See if 4 weeks from now today, see if I upload anything new. I still have a week before I start, so where I'm still doing the construction job. So, if I'm not too tired, I'll try to update once again before I go and get started. And otherwise, so stay tuned for the channel. And don't be afraid to comment on any of my videos and ask a question. I should get a notification that you've left a question, and I will try to make a video that answers it. So let me leave you with that before I ramble on, repeating myself here over the same things. And hopefully everyone got the message here about what's going on with this channel. And I thank everybody who has subscribed. I thank you for hitting the like button and the notifications button like everybody else has, because I need you to do that to keep YouTube making these videos noticeable to people. They'll help me be noticed by putting me, out there to people, as long as people are liking these videos. So it's like up to you people, if you like these videos, to actually hit that like button to, give your support, show your support to the channel. And that's beyond going to my Patreon page and supporting me there. But I don't think anyone's going to do that, because no one ever has done that, right? And being negative about it like that doesn't help it. But whatever, I'm being realistic, I think, about it. Because at the end of the day, who likes, someone, basically a lot of people look at that as begging for money, I think. Especially certain mindsets in the American political kind of divide that's happening in this country right now. Many people are considering that type of thing is begging, and you should work for your money, get a job. And that's what I'm getting, a job. That's what I have, a job, and jobs don't allow me to do this stuff. Unless this became my job because people paid me to do it. See how that kind of work would work? I mean, people don't realize that, making these videos is a job. Making a real channel, a YouTube channel. Rick Beato works at what he does. Adam Neely works at what he does. Signals Music Studio, they work at what they do. David Wallyman works. Jens Larson works to make these videos. That's why they get the support that they do, though, I think, because you can see their work, where you see me just going live all the time. It's not as much work. Okay, enough rambling. I hope you guys get the point, and do like and subscribe and all that jazz. And I appreciate every one of you that does watch and learn something, and that asks a question. The most important thing to me, aside from all that YouTube jazz, is ask a question, because that gives me material. thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate every one of you. And namaste, one-handed kind of prayer thing, haha. And have a good day.